filming a video about the Barbie movie after this, can you tell?
That one will probably be a little lighter, I imagine.
How are you all doing, our fellow non-murderers?
Any murderers in the chat?
Any murderers?
Sound off. What got you into it? Was it religion? Apparently that's a soft intro for a lot of people, especially around these parts.
Does it get easier each time?
Oh, God. Utah has a very interesting, obviously, history of religiously inspired murder. It's endlessly fascinating. Most Latter-day Saints of the Corporation of the President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are only familiar with like this really, really whitewashed sanitary elementary school version of history. But when you really just start to explore like Utah as a place and Mormonism as a thing, kind of zoomed out a little bit and, you know, really deep into it, the micro-macro view, it's pretty wacky. A lot of religiously inspired murder. And I wonder where it came from.
And you gotta take the micro-macro view.
You do.
Otherwise, what are we doing? I think the thing that
You can edit this all out.
puts me off murder the most is like, if you murder someone, you have to watch them die in front of you. Like, that piece alone is just like so horrifying to think about.
I think that's a lot of why they do it. It's like the power thing.
Right. So I guess I'm just not the right personality type.
You're not.
For murder. Like, it really would have to be a last resort.
You are not a prime candidate for CIA talent scouting.
Yeah.
Cut it all
Sometimes
out.
that
Edit
can
it all out. Murder.
I think as soon as we have our handheld mics, we can just kind of lounge. Don't
Yeah.
you just feel like you could be so much funnier and more like relaxed if you could yada 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 on a soft cozy chair in my spare room. We're gonna build our set if you guys support us on Patreon.
Especially if you could like look away while you're talking. And...
Yeah. Think of the head turns alone with a handheld mic. And the autonomy we'd each have as entertainers.
And interviewers. Your thoughts.
And beatboxers. It's impossible to beatbox.
You can't, yeah, on this just is not manifesting the future that we want.
The energy of the piece, no.
I'm not going to do it because that would be really annoying.
That was such a good beatbox. All right, so today, because we read Chad Daybell, we've got us into this mess. We read Chad Daybell's what was it? His romance, novel that he wrote to Lori Daybell.
Can you give us a quick overview of Chad and Lori Daybell for those who aren't super familiar?
So Chad Daybell, kind of this prophet within Mormonism, you know, like kind of a spin-off guy, but I think he was still involved in the mainstream Mormonism. I'm actually not sure his...
They usually start till they get the boot, or they kill someone and then get the boot. Sometimes not.
I think he still went to regular LDS services, but yeah, had kind of his own thing going on, sold books.
Didn't Deseret Books sell his books?
Yes, I believe so. He meets Lori Vallow, who has, I think, been married 2 times already at this point, but she's married when he meets him. She just falls for him and becomes his, they fall madly in love in a very psychopathic way from my perspective, and they together end up, or maybe it's kind of debated how much who influenced who, but it actually does seem, contrary to what I said in our last video, that Lori had kind of the instinct potentially for murder before Chad. It wasn't all she was this innocent, perfect mother and then met. It was seems like they both have some version of psychopathy in them, whatever. Anyway, but they killed a bunch of her kids and some other people, multi-murderers basically. Sorry for laughing a little bit too much at inappropriate moments in this video. It's just an uncomfortable topic. I think I was laughing at just me struggling to find the word for serial killer and saying multi-murderer, but yeah, I sorry, kind of a weird one. And this all happened in the small town of Rexburg, Idaho, which is where we went to college, which is kind of part of why it was so fascinating, because imagining all this stuff happening in such a tiny, sleepy town.
A town that's I think it at least used to be on the books the most conservative per capita county in America.
Mormon when we lived there.
Yeah.
99. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking very Mormon, very conservative, very small town.
And where I think people there sort of generally feel very safe because they're everyone's in my in-group. We're all Mormon.
And the out-group feels very scary.
Yeah.
Idaho is a very paranoid place. Kind of not, no shade on the cool people who live there, obviously. And there's plenty of just fine, chill people, but a lot of scary white.
Say the name of one right now.
Ash's folks live there and they're wonderful. But, you know, there's a lot of, like, Aryan Brotherhood stuff. Like, the Bundys live up there. Mm-hmm. Not the Ted Bundys, who were, you know, down in here doing their moitas.
Well, and there's kind of a wildness to the land, which I think can also kind of collaborate with people's... I mean, Mormons have these kind of wild, I don't know what the word is for those types of fantasies, but, you know...
Manifest destiny.
Yeah, just this idea that, like, they like the idea of going somewhere where nothing's there and the government won't be helping you and you just kind of do your own thing, whereas...
rugged individualism.
Yes, well said. Anyway, so this statement...
Ethic.
This is her statement that she gave to the court, while she was being sentenced?
Yeah, so just before getting the sentence, the judge... It's just kind of a
that gives them a chance
to say something.
Do a little piece.
Yep, say your bit.
Imagine if you just wrote like a 6-slam poem to like take into your...
All right, I'm going to need someone to lay down just like a 3/4 beat.
Can I get a word from the jury?
You gotta, the bass sucks, man. I can't do this unless I got a solid bass. Okay. This is actually prejudice against me.
Because I assume their fate is already decided. Like, their statement doesn't affect anything at that point, right?
Pretty much. I guess there is, like, the chance that if there's any more information or just, like, one final consideration, the judge could potentially be like, all right.
In the final moment. I wonder how often that happens.
I don't know.
So anyway, though, it's like, she was found guilty, right?
She was found guilty to, like, multiple life sentences, consecutive life sentences without parole. I need to do more digging into the hearings and things because I've stayed pretty just detached from it. But it seems like for there to be such an intense verdict, there's got to be some, like, really solid evidence. Oh, and maybe that's my naivete of the American justice system.
No. I mean, there's no doubt that she murdered those kids.
Yeah.
And I think with some pieces of the whole picture of everyone they murdered, there's like it's just obvious that she is a murderer, you know.
Now, we're going to read her testimony, which I listened to, and it is chilling because it sounds like she might as well be up in like a fast and testimony meeting or at a fireside where she's selling one of Chad's books for and in behalf of the church's publishing company, the Deseret Book. Like, it's just straight out of the book. And this is why things like this, things like Under the Banner of Heaven, the John Krakauer story about the Lafferty murders, and like I said, there are plenty more. The Allreds families have murder in there, Rulon and what's his name, Allred. There's like so many, and it all ties back to fundamental Mormon doctrines that were taught by Brigham Young and Joseph Smith even, that interwove violence, theological violence, into its theology. And a point that we've talked about quite a bit on here is Zizek, who I have my own problems with, don't get me wrong. And someday I'm going to do a Why I Disagree with Zizek video.
Niche. Yeah. I love it. Let's drive this channel further into the ground.
Nietzsche. But
Bernie's just going off at the washing machine because he hasn't received enough attention today. So just deal with the casual thumping throughout the entire video. Good thing our mic's not that good.
One of his critiques or assertions is that the religious experience of God is almost universally connected with violence. That it takes being able to like abstractify reality and to view it in these like metaphysical ways for you to be able to commit violence against people.
I mean, even when you imagine like people in the army and fighting in wars, there's like a degree of fantasy that has to go into, like, they really train you to demonize the enemy, you know, like that Black Mirror episode, The Rats. But they really, there has to be some level of denial. Otherwise, and even with that, like, don't they find that a lot of soldiers like won't kill in the moment where they have to, because it's like you have to like deny their humanity in a way that like isn't quite logical to be able to kill in wars and stuff.
Until they kill your buddy, and then you're like, that was monsters that killed my buddy.
Oh my god.
I mean, that's kind of how it goes. It's like they're killing us, so we're self-defense at this point.
No, it's just dark, so and it just really hit me when you said that.
Yeah,
it's grim.
Tragic. Anyway, so yeah, it's all like.
So this is her final statement and testimony.
And again, this is stuff that you would read in a book from Deseret Book. I grew up reading like stories of people who had near-death experiences, and it's always like, see, this is proof that God is real. This is proof that Mormonism is true. This is proof that we were all spirits and we made covenants with Jesus
the
before we
first
came
story
down.
in the Book of Mormon is God asking you to kill someone.
Literally.
So it's like really not that much of a stretch. I mean, yeah, and obviously a percentage of the Mormon population are going to have some parts of their brain not functioning the way the rest of our brains do and are going to be more prone to that kind of thinking. Also, I feel like believing LDS people use like stuff like this where they're like more like kind of like with FLDS people, the way that LDS people will be like, that's crazy, we don't do any of that, and they almost imagine that you're setting up this straw man, and they're like, but we don't do that, and it's the rest of us are like, we're not saying you do that. What we're saying is that it is rooted in things that you do believe, and the leap is a lot shorter than you realize, and this also has happened like extensively in the organization that you continue to support, and you like revere all these men that did do those things. So like that's what we're saying. We're not, but it's almost like LDS people feel justified in dismissing it by being like, well, obviously Mormonism teaches that murder is wrong. And it's like, yes.
And?
On a very black and white level, kind of, yes. But also, no.
But also teaches that it has the power to decide who is guilty of murder and who isn't.
And don't tell me you didn't grow up in seminary being asked if the prophet asked you to kill someone, would you do it?
Yeah, or yourself.
The fact that that has to be such a ubiquitous thought experiment in Mormonism should tell you what you need
It's
to know.
not giving Jim Jones at all. Hey, if the prophet asked you to drink, I mean, that literally was my seminary teacher was being like, you know, in the 70s when I saw all those people commit suicide, I thought, if the prophet asked me to drink Kool-Aid, I guess I would. So who am I to fault them? Kind of being like, you know, they acted in faith rather than being like, oh shit, this whole premise is fundamentally fucked. Mm-hmm. Because that's, like you're saying about the fundamentalists, it's like, it's not like these are the wacky people who went off and did something crazy. It was like, they were the ones who didn't change, who were like, no, we got to stick to the fundamentals, the original tenets of the original faith.
Because those original guys that you love were like, if this ever changes, you will lose the priesthood, the church will be an apostasy, you cannot ever change these
Do
things.
not sell out. And
So,
then
like,
the LDS Church is the one that sold out.
Yeah, they really have a strong case, to be honest. I don't like it, but they do.
And
by
they
their
are
own
that
doctrine.
they are that sort of like distorted black mirror that to history that active Latter-day Saints don't want to look into, because it would force them to evaluate the premises of their own faith. Because what every religious person fails to understand is that it's the exact same neuropsychological phenomenon that are convincing them that their religion is true, that convinces a Muslim that their religion is true, a Hindu that their religion is true, a Buddhist that their religion is true. It's the same stuff going on.
So true.
But until, you know, you're willing to take a step back and, you know, kind of have a wake-up call and be like, oh, this isn't that much different than me. Like, should we get to it? Do you want to read it?
Yeah, let's do it. Did her lawyer try pleading insanity? That seems like it would be the best.
Okay, that was, I'm actually curious, because I was like, if I heard this and I was not an LDS judge, I'd be like, oh, she's like schizophrenic, like totally schizophrenic.
Well, yeah, and like, surely this statement was like worked on with a lawyer, so is that what they're going for? Let's just see. Did what's her name? Did Lori Vallow plead insanity? She doesn't want to use a mental health defense during her trial, even though her attorneys say she is mentally ill. Damn. So she rejected a mental illness diagnosis.
So her own attorneys are telling her she's mentally ill for the stuff that she's about to say that, again, is literally for sale in the LDS publishing company Deseret book.
Let's hear it. Okay.
Let's go.
I would like to start by quoting John from the New Testament in the Bible.
Goody.
Banging intro. You cannot argue with that. That's like right off the bat, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
You know?
Instant aces on the table.
Yeah.
You're gonna just deny John of the Bible, the beloved? I know.
She's like, the dictionary definition of murder is... In John chapter 8, verse 7, Jesus says, he that is without sin among you... Oh, damn, that's an angle. He that is without sin among you... He who hasn't murdered their own kids among us. Come on.
Come on. Throw the first rock. Again, this story is not real, just... This was added centuries later by script. This is not a real thing that Jesus actually said or did. Anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, I do appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But I'm like, well, this is the legal system, baby. I mean, it's like, you're going to cast more... you're going to murder more people if we live... I don't know. I just don't trust her. Let him first cast a stone at her. Then in verse 15, Jesus says, You judge after the flesh. I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. Jesus knows me and Jesus understands me. I mourn with all of you who mourn my children and Tammy. Jesus Christ knows the truth of what happened here. Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered. Oh, is that because, they're just like living La Vida Loca way more in the next life? And so this is, they've upgraded to first class life-wise?
That's literally, again, that like abstraction. She literally has to believe that they're doing better, more important, more exciting and enticing things on the other side.
And to take this to
and
a
then she wants to go there
micro-
ture Remember Joseph Smith being a person would kill themselves to get there. Then wouldn't it be a favor if you just gave someone the push? You're giving them a better life anyway. What does it matter?
It's worth pointing out that the idea that the afterlife is like so superior and this life is just a test certainly makes it easier to justify a lot of like LDS beliefs around rugged individualism and like allowing children to starve because their parents like don't get help from the government. You know what I mean? Like the all the conservative sort of prosperity gospel
It'll all be made
ideas.
up to you.
Yeah, it makes it easier to just be
it.
like, poor people, they don't matter. If they don't pull themselves up by their bootstraps, that's on them. Like, this has nothing to do with me. I give my 10% of my money to this multi-billion-dollar organization, so I'm good.
The man born inheriting the emerald mine has the same opportunity as the man born working in the emerald mine. It's exactly the same condition.
Just work your way up. I do feel like montages in movies really gave me a false sense growing up of how easy it would be to work your way up. It's like you just put on like your tunes and you're going for it, and you're in the mailroom, and then you're in a small office, and they just make it
totally.
seem like how would you sustain that kind of like willpower and will to like engage in all like that's just not how any of us work.
Oh yeah, the Rocky montages gave me such a false idea about how quickly you could get a six-pack.
Totally.
Just in the time of Eye of the Tiger,
Although also check your privilege, because I do feel like you get a six-pack in like fucking 2 weeks the minute you try. So you're actually not allowed to say that. Okay. Anyway, so Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered. In this case, accidental deaths happen. Suicide happen. Fatal side effects from medications happen. Oh, so like also going with the like, and not only are they in a better life, I didn't do any of this. This is all just a series of misunderstandings for which you have extensive evidence.
Oh my god, do you think she believes it at this point?
Hard to know, but it just feels a bit like random to be like, could have been this, could have been this. Either way, I didn't do it. Jesus is on my side. I have a different perspective in life because in 2002, when I was pregnant with Kylie, I died in the hospital while in labor with her. They tried to stop my labor. They put me on the table and they put something in my IV, and I felt my spirit falling to the floor. I was standing in my pregnant body watching the doctors try to revive me, which took them a few minutes. Quite a common experience that people in all kinds of religious and non-religious denominations have experienced.
Yeah, it's funny. Near-death experiences like this are often cited by believers as, again, evidence of Christianity being true or whatever. But the thing is people of all religious backgrounds experience them, and they tend to follow at least the archetypes or symbolic imagery of the culture that people are raised in. Hindus tend to see Hindu imagery. Christians tend to see Christian imagery.
Like, let's consider non-localized consciousness.
Yeah.
Thought experiment. In that time, my sister Stacy was standing to my left. I turned to hug her and was surprised that her spirit was as tangible as a physical body because I knew I was in spirit and she was in spirit. Her spirit was as tangible as a physical body.
I mean, if that's the conclusion that you've come to, then you must be right? Who told you that? How did you know that?
That is in line with the Saturday's Warrior movie, but not technically with the doctrine of the pre-afterlife, right? The whole point is that you don't have a physical body, so it won't be tangible.
Yeah, I guess if we're getting into the sticks here of Mormon theology, it would be that spirit is matter, it's just less dense than this matter. Whatever that is. Yeah.
Well, less dense, I would say, would mean slightly less tangible.
It's composed of Higgs bosons, where we're actually larger chemical, atomic.
So Stacy, I'm assuming, is Stacy her sister who's dead? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
She said she needed to show me some things and we went to heaven. I later returned. So we're not going to hear about the things. It's just like, this is like a Jack Whalen novel. She showed me some things, really good things, best things you could imagine. Moving on.
It's got to be like, it's like a dream, right? You like wake up from that, and in a dream, you wake up from it and you kind of like build a memorable story of what happened. Even though you weren't like a full agent in it, it just sort of happened. Mm-hmm. You kind of remember it in these linear terms. And it has to be that same way. It's like you went to heaven, you were in the spirit world and you went to heaven. What do you mean? You went to the celestial kingdom? What kind of things did you learn? Like, to just say that means like you don't really have a concrete...
I mean, in her defense, it's not really the time or the place. But she doesn't...
She's laid it all out in the memoir.
She doesn't seem to... she doesn't want to give away her prison memoir. We're like kind of having too much fun for the subject matter of this, and we
really
apologize
for
that. And we
serious.
understand that it is sensitive. But
if anything, it's born of releasing anxiety from a
you are welcome to
religiously
click off if
inspired
this kind
murder.
of we in no way want to belittle anyone's. So I later returned to my body. Because of this experience, I have access to heaven and the spirit world. Just on the stand saying this. Since then, I have had many communications from people now living in heaven.
Okay, that sounds like she's totally delusional.
Yeah.
It sounds...
Including my children, Tylee, Ashland, and Joshua Jackson.
Oh my God.
My sisters, Stacy and Lolly, my aunts and my uncles, and my grandparents. It'd be funny if she threw a random one in there, like Steve Irwin. He got in touch.
Crocodile Hunter's been hitting me up. The moves we're making on the reptile community.
Cooking up a lot of stuff for my own planet, let me tell you.
It's
insane that she didn't do a mental health defense. Like, how did someone not convince her? They can be like, even if you're not, this is how you stay out of prison. But she honestly might be too... I just feel like usually lawyers convince people like, no, you have to take a mental health.
Maybe she really, really believes it. But the fact that she's saying all this...
if she's refusing...
But this is Mormon doctrine, all of this.
I've had many communications with Jesus Christ, the Savior of this world, and our heavenly parents. I have had many angelic visitors, have come and communicated with me, and even manifested themselves to me because of these communications.
They visited and manifested themselves to you?
I think like visited could be in a dream, but then...
Or an impression, or manifest. Yeah. When I was exiting Mormonism, I did try to do my due diligence and I was trying to just get as thorough of a picture as I could of Mormon origins and the broader Mormon community. And I talked to a lot of fundamentalists of different groups and things, and was around a lot of self-proclaimed prophets and, people who are living like this. And when you start grilling them on, like, what does it mean for an angel to manifest to you? They're like, well, I was praying and I said manifest something and I saw a bird fly by right then. What are the chances? And I'm like,
it's like, you're right.
Pretty
Nature
damn
is
good.
The greatest teacher. I do believe there is wisdom in the birds and the trees, and
even
the fact that you have to then associate it to a Homo sapiens in the sky. So embarrassing.
Yeah, religion especially amplifies our already strong predisposition to look for meaning in everything and to categorize all manifestations of the world as like somehow...
Which
relating
is so
deeply to our personal story. Exactly. Yeah. And that's why schizophrenia is sort of like a spectrum, a far distant spectrum of consciousness versus like the normal features that we normally play with. One of the defining aspects of schizophrenia is an amplified releasage of dopamine, which I think is interesting.
Sounds tight.
Because you just...
Does it feel good for them in that moment?
Yes. Yeah. Like, think it like you're feeling constantly like, every message, everything that happens is like a personal message from God. But then actual reality becomes very distorted because not everything is. This is an exceptionally good story that puts you in the center of all of it and endows you, just some person, with this divine gift and calling and special awareness and insight. And also probably a special sense of morality where things aren't as,
It certainly seems like Lori did not get what her needs met growing up emotionally. Like, she certainly wasn't... She grew up in a really fucked up family. If you want to hear more about that, Mormon Stories did a really good episode with, I think, her cousin who grew up with her. But also, you should only watch our videos after this.
Also, disclaimer, not trying to armchair diagnose her with schizophrenia.
Oh, no,
sort of
we know
tangential
nothing, yeah.
conversation, and certainly not meaning to imply that people with schizophrenia or any mental disorder are inherently like dangerous to this type of magnitude.
Sure.
It's obviously
I
not saying that.
I don't think there's any risk of people thinking we're psychiatrists.
Someone in the comments will
yeah.
for surely say that.
Okay, that conversation always, I understand the point of like obviously having mental illness, like we don't want to stigmatize mental illness so that people have this impression that if you have mental illness, that means you're inherently more dangerous. But also mentally well people don't murder. So like mental illness is involved, but it's just that like, you know, there's a massive spectrum of what mental illness can do to a person, and most people with mental illness are never going to be murderers.
And differing factors that play into that are different for different types of people.
But I feel like because everything just gets so like either or in our world, and it just makes it kind of annoying to have a discussion sometimes. But I also get the points you're making if you love those comments. Anyway, so she said, I know for a fact that my children are happy and busy in the spirit world. Because of my communications with my friend, Tammy Daybell, that is his ex-wife, I believe.
Yeah, who also died.
I know that she is
killed.
Also very happy and extremely busy. I love the like glorification of busyness even in the afterlife. Like she's not like happy and resting by a beach.
No, not
which
chilling.
is how normal people think about heaven, like rest. In Mormonism, it's like
she is sewing quilts
busy.
for like 1 billion spirit babies. It's incredible. The fingers don't even wear down in the spirit world. That's the coolest thing about having a spirit tangible body.
I have always mourned the loss of my loved ones, and I have lost many in this mortal world. However, I know that more than most people, I know where they are now and what they're doing. I know how wonderful heaven is, and I'm homesick for it every single day.
Again, if she genuinely... I could just... Yeah. Oh, it's so easy to see. It's so scary.
So wild that there wasn't a mental health defense. I almost wonder if her lawyer is like, yeah, tell them all that, like, to almost...
just to be like, judge, like, are you getting this?
Because it's kind of weird that the person has to admit to a mental health defense, because then you're like asking a mentally ill person to like be able to recognize that they're mentally, which I'm like, surely some of them can't, as she cannot.
Totally.
I know we all lived in heaven before we were born on earth, and we were all adult spirits in the heavenly realm. We chose to come.
We were all adult spirits, not according to Saturday's Warrior. I don't know if you've ever seen that piece of doctrine, but they got them of all ages there.
Again, just a reminder for our never Mormon viewers, like everything she said so far could easily be in a Mormon sacrament meeting, and it would not be a big deal. Like if you were like, I get communications from my dead relatives, people would be like, that's so nice. That's cool. I bet you do. We chose to come to earth as mortals. Heaven is more wonderful than you can possibly imagine. So
I did them a favor, I think is what that boils down to.
Of course. I do not fear, it's blood atonement, isn't it? It's like that doctrine laying out. I do not fear death, but I look forward to it.
Even a more twisted one, because that one has like this weird like justice element with this, and this one isn't like a negative consequence. It's like I was literally doing a good thing for them. Like I wasn't punishing them, I was helping them, because now they're fucking happy and busy and so happy. And it's better, and I want to be there too, frankly. Hanging out here in jail with you guys, I'm out. Actually, I would rather be in heaven.
It's weird because, like, this type of person is what we consider, like, the most evil type of person. Someone who would kill kids. But they're so clearly the most delusional type of person. It's, like, almost...
Yeah,
It just shows how, like, terms like evil fall apart so easily when you, examine what, like, because no one... She obviously believes this. And
she's had a community around her that has affirmed this, and it has made her feel special for being
still though. Do you think she's
at this point? No,
Are her and Chad still in communication? I wonder. They probably are.
Stop asking so many questions. I'm gonna have to do a deep dive, and then there goes my weekend.
We're just here to read the statement.
Curiosity
and roast it
killed
a little
my
bit.
free time.
I did not want to return to my body when I was out of it. Even though my son Colby, who I adored more than anything, was only 6 years old at the time, oh my God, and I was about to give birth to this new baby girl that I wanted so badly. She's talking about when she had that near-death experience. I was a young mother, and you would think I wouldn't want to leave my children, but as I stood in heaven, I did not want to go back. I thought they would be fine without me because I was peaceful and I was happy and I was home. But when I was, because there was probably like such in near-death experiences like that, there probably is just like such a falling away of everything that's plagued you your whole life, and there probably is like just this sense of like equanimity.
I mean, it's like a ketamine hole or something, you know?
Yeah.
It's like dissociative and
Yeah.
affirming, and like you could see how someone could be in that like limited consciousness where there's like reduced brain activity except in certain areas.
Yeah.
You could see so easily how this would happen.
So sad. But then I was told by Jesus that I needed to go back and complete things that I had covenanted or promised to do before I was born. This caused me a lot of distress because I knew heaven was my real home and I only wanted to be there. I was free from pain, emotional and physical, but then I was shown how I would help my children and others in the future. So ultimately, I did agree to go back to my body.
Did she see this in the future? Did Jesus give her a heads up like, hey, just so you know, you're going to get pinned for the murder of your own children and your lover's wife? Was that?
Probably not. I think just sort of vague, you have work to do. And there's no better place to get shit done than prison, you know? That's how you carry out the Lord's work. Tylee has visited me. She is happy and very busy. Why are all the people busy? I just don't get it. Just like they have a purpose in being dead. Like there's Tylee is free now from all the pains of her life.
Isn't it being so goddamn busy all the time that makes life so painful? So you gotta like sweat and work and hustle so that you can just have basic health care? Like
Tylee suffered horrible physical pain her whole life. I sat with Tylee in the hospital year after year after year while she screamed in pain when the morphine wasn't enough to take away the pain of her pancreatitis.
Oh, this is actually really sad.
I know, it's got really dark.
I wonder,
What?
like, you know, it doesn't seem like she's like, I'm kind of like just taking her at her word in that like she genuinely believes that she's having this experience because her whole community has only given her this paradigm to work with these ideas and concepts, and then with an exceptionally manipulative person who's pushed her along, and but like I think she really thought like she was helping.
Yeah.
Like, that is so sad.
I mean, I imagine
from whatever side you're looking at it, like even just like a non-judging, just like witnessing a mom being in that circumstance and being like pressured into this even unconsciously, like that's so sad.
Once again, I don't know, I'm not a professional on schizophrenia, but it sounds like basically everything that was like any kind of imposition on her and Chad needed to be done away with. And so I imagine like I don't know that she sat down and was like, Tylee is really suffering. I imagine it was like the impulse came into her head of like Tylee needs to go, and then the story would be built around it, and you know.
I have a I hope this isn't sharing too much. Maybe we can cut it out and we can ask permission, or if I just keep it anonymous. But I have a friend who in the LDS church whose wife started having delusions and went to an LDS therapist, started having an affair with the therapist who was like giving her blessings and stuff in the middle of therapy and being like, you need to, and she started getting revelations that things in his life were the problem, like his dog, who was the only, so she had to kill his dog, try to get his dog put down. And it's just like,
how did that help her case? Like the fact that she had a husband?
I think she was just trying to emotionally kind of strangle him. Like just trying to squeeze him out so emotionally that he would have to just like
100%.
I don't know. It's just crazy how exactly what you're saying, like this is standing in the way, gotta go. It's the best situation for everyone, for her, and it probably, I wonder if I probably just like under the surface of conscious thought.
And it probably came like just a firestorm of mental activity that felt crystal clear, like this has to happen. I'm just completely speculating here, obviously. Therapists who know stuff about schizophrenia, please weigh in. And
again, not necessarily schizophrenia, just some kind of disordered delusional thinking.
I'm the only person on earth who knows.
Because even though she may have had that dissociative experience, you know, the near-death experience, the medically induced near-death experience, the way that she is reinterpreting it since and then projecting that onto her waking experience actually may not have like hallucinations, for instance, but like kind of like what I was saying, being like, oh, I associate this thing happening with the presence of an angel or this thing with the presence of my daughter, or I got this overwhelming feeling that my daughter is close to me and is happy. Like, it doesn't necessarily imply that she's having like hallucinatory delusional experiences.
Her cousin, who was on Mormon Stories, told a story of when they were teenagers, and Lori like delighted in a cat being killed. So just so you know, like, she, long before that near-death experience, it seemed like she had this lack of empathy. It sounds like she was really over-sexualized by her father, and was kind of like eager to be, I mean, not complicit, she's a kid, but like eager to be a part of that, like kind of like her dad would take like creepy naked photos of them and call it art, and she was always like excited to do that because it meant attention. So I just think that's a relevant piece of background information. Again, like, she had a fucked up childhood, and it was very much a family, a kind of a classic Mormon family where like no feelings are talked about, everything is swept under the rug. There's like this ideal of what you have to be publicly, and like you so clearly are not that, which just creates like more dysfunction because of the lying. And obviously as a kid, like seeing how much your parents are lying to be able to maintain their social standing is all just so fucked up.
Yikes.
I am the only person on this earth who knows how much Tylee suffered in her life. She had pain every single day. She never felt good. Her body did not work right. And I don't know if it was from complications from me dying while she was being born or something else, but she had a very different life. She was sexually abused by her own biological father since she was 3 years old.
Jesus.
And she was forced by family court to go visit him for 10 years against her will. Fucking hell.
Jesus.
I fought for her. In court, I protected her.
Did all the bishopric and ward family members side on the side with the dad? Because
I guess we like. It seems like it's entirely possible that Lori just like made that up and is lying about her daughter being sexually abused. Like,
Sure.
That's within her personality profile from what I've heard from Mormon Stories and stuff. So who knows? But like, if this is true, that is like a kind of a more humanizing thing she's said so far. I fought for her. In court, I protected her. I tried to protect her with my whole life. I tried to protect her. I worried about her every single day. Tylee had to get her GED because she couldn't go to school every day because she never felt good. She felt sick. Nobody knows this because Tylee, like myself, tries to put on a good front, tries to be a happy person, tries to have hope in life, tries to know that she's here for a purpose and that she has an eternal purpose to be on this earth. But I never stopped worrying about her.
Jesus, it's just so easy to see this like intergenerational trauma that's just like constantly playing out without anyone being able to have the tools.
So I'm like,
to
Tylee's a
properly
kid.
deal with
Like,
it.
you're kind of talking about her as if you're like sisters, but like, this is a child.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sad. It's all just so sad.
One of the times...
You see the there's been like several documentaries and a like fiction, recreation as a series of the story of the girl who was, her mom had her like in a wheelchair, had her undergo like a ton of surgeries, constantly. What is it called? Is it like Munchausen, or it's not Munchausen syndrome, or by proxy, where you like the mother was just convincing everyone and the daughter that she was sick all the time and was making her go
the
through
daughter
surgeries,
was sick,
and the daughter ended up killing the mother. And it was just like one of those things where it's like, it's just so fucked up because it's like, obviously the mother is like profoundly sick to be projecting all that onto the daughter, and like having this weird savior complex about helping the daughter and using it as a means of like social, getting money and getting attention. And
one of the times that Tylee came to me as a spirit after she died, she said she commanded me, and she said to me, this is interesting because it's like a transcript and it's kind of showing how all over, like, it doesn't seem like she's like reading something necessary. Did you see the video?
Yeah. Also interesting that a spirit child daughter can command you to do anything. I'm saying theologically doesn't check out.
Yeah, a woman commanding a woman.
And a child commanding a parent.
Well, they're all adults in the spirit. But also, how does she come to you as a spirit? Doesn't she have or does she have to wait till the millennium?
To get a body, yeah.
Got it. So we go back to being spirits and then we get a body again.
Yeah, later. Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of like nobody, body. Yeah. It's going to be a transition. She said she commanded me, and she said to me, "Stop worrying, Mum. We are fine." She knows how I worry and how I miss her.
Oh, God. Is that just like conscience guilt, like easing, like, you're good, I'm good, it's all good, she's better, she's fine?
As we learned from Michelle Remembers, the book about a therapist kind of exploiting someone's trauma by implanting satanic ritual abuse in them through hypnosis, and then ultimately having an affair with that patient. And Michelle remembers there's a You're Wrong About series where they read it. It's really good. But anyway, the psyche will come up with like whatever it needs to like resolve what's going on, you know.
That aspect, implanting things in people's mind, is so real.
Yeah.
The church actually is starting to deal with it, because I did read this in the handbook or some notice that was sent to bishops or something about even the questions that you ask children about abuse can like rapidly change
Oh
what's
my God,
happening.
Tana.
Like,
The satanic panic, it was straight up. It wasn't even just like slightly leading questions. It was like...
have you ever?
it was like bribing them to give the answers they wanted. Like, it became crazy. They talk about the satanic panic in the status game and how... And I kind of feel like we're seeing this right now with like the Sound of Freedom and like...
anti-woke.
Yeah, anti-woke,
sentiment.
like anti-human trafficking. Like, we're all anti-human trafficking, but do you know what I mean? Like the sort of right-wing anti-human trafficking crowd. It becomes its own status game. And so for you to admit that like some things are... Because, you know, you have got this, some people who are like gunning for the Sound of Freedom right now have this kind of elevated sense of righteousness by being like, this thing is going on and nobody else is talking about it, and that makes them feel superior. So if you hit them with anything that's like, well, the way that you're understanding this is like not quite right, obviously we all care, but like, you know, the guy that you really... Here. Yeah, there's a bigger picture here, and like your guy is like not really the guy. Then that to them would be a loss of status. So they can't admit that their status game isn't real.
And like, how dare you? I paid $7 to see a movie. I am personally ending.
So like the satanic panic was like talked about in the status game for that same reason. Like, just it became this thing of like the researchers or like the people interviewing kids, they had this social incentive to get the kids to admit that clearly didn't happen. Like, there are like transcripts, and it's absolutely insane, the line of questioning. Like, again, even far beyond like leading questions to just like flat out completely fucked up. But why was I talking about that?
Just moral panics, leading questions, dealing with abuse.
Yeah. Can you unlock your scary Mark Zuckerberg screen?
I have to make eye contact with Mark.
It's fucked up.
To be allowed in.
The first time JJ visited me after he passed away, he put his arm around me and he said to me, "You didn't do anything wrong, Mum. I love you, but I know you loved me every minute of my life." This is kind of showing that a part of her psyche is reckoning with, like, she might have done something wrong.
She feels guilt about something that needs to be said is not wrong.
So there is some part of her that does know.
Yeah. Or at least wonders. Yeah. Like I'm saying, it could just be, like, right under the surface.
Totally. But, I mean, can you imagine? It's got to be, like, so impossible to reckon with that, because then you'd have to reckon with the fact that you killed your kids, who it sounds like she did love. Oh, God. Joshua Jackson was an adult spirit, and he was very, very tall when he put his arm around me. He is busy.
A lot of spirits put an arm around. How do you feel a spirit?
He is engaged. He has jobs that he does there, and he is happy where he is.
Oh, great. Well, as long as we've got your report, then I guess we can assume that's true. Thank you so much.
He's got a powerful middle management position, and he is leading a thriving team into the future.
He's got perks. He's got full health, full dental. It's insane. His little spirit teeth are shining.
That would be the dream. His life was short, but JJ's life was meaningful. JJ was a wonderful person and touched the lives of everyone, and I adored every minute of his life. Was JJ the youngest one, and is that why she's painting him as the biggest, because she feels the most guilty?
Oh, jeez.
Let me just Google it.
It's so interesting to see people excavating the symbols of their own psyche as like external objective truth, and you're like, you are just telling the story that's playing out in your unconscious, the unconscious elements of your own psyche.
Yeah, it looks like JJ was really young, so I just think it's interesting that he was an adult spirit, because for some reason that's like an extra layer of justification.
I mean, that's gotta have
because
come up
she's
in
reckoning with the fact that he's so young.
Like, this is a child. Apparently was not sick all his life.
No, so he has to have something.
Yeah, his childhood was so short. Needs to be an adult working full-time for the Lord.
He's got too much potential to waste time being a kid. My eternal friend Tammy Daybell has visited me on several occasions. She came to bring me peace and comfort, and I know that she is extremely busy helping her family, especially her children and grandchildren. And I have a great love for Tammy. Didn't they started having an affair while Chad was still with Tammy, right?
Yeah.
And did they murder her? Yeah, I think she died, and then like 2 weeks later they were in Hawaii. Or like she died and they... Something about Hawaii. My beautiful children, Tylee, Ashley, and Joshua Jackson, rest safely this day in the arms of Jesus. My wonderful friend Tammy rests safely this day in the arms of Jesus.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
And I look forward to the day
How
when we
many
are
arms does Jesus have? He's only got 2, and they're just sitting there hanging out, just like arms around.
I will rest 2 with them in the arms of my Jesus. And that is that. And again, if no murder had taken place, that would be a perfectly normal thing to hear in a Mormon church.
Damn, that hearing was probably a shit show. If that's her closing statement, just being like, hey, listen, they were suffering a lot, and their spirits actually told me that they're fine and really good and having a great time, and anything that I did was not wrong and was actually good for them in the long term. Mormonism is a doomsday cult. And you can't trust a doomsday cult to find solutions for the real world, because their whole religious identity is based on the idea that the world has to end violently and brutally, and everyone's got to be so wicked that they get burned up. So it like preps you to be just like hyper paranoid about everything and unable to see the good as it's happening, and very resistant to outgroup people and ideas and things, because again, everything's coming down. It's all going down right now.
So much there. Can't get into it.
I have to do a deeper dive.
Yeah. Bit of a weird one this week, but I was curious to read that, and it's nicer to read it with someone else than alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of scary.
Just be careful. Sharpen your critical thinking tools. Make sure that you're questioning everything.
Don't do a murder. Cleanup's not worth it.
Oh my god, watching Succession makes me feel like I've killed someone, and
It's really got me. It's like it's exactly how I imagined things were, but seeing the way it's like, oof, there is just no hope. Anyway, if you want to support the channel and help us keep making videos, we rely on donations to be able to keep the channel going, so you can support us in any of the ways in the description box. Patreon is the funnest way because we read 80s Mormon fiction there every week. And that's a good time, but we also have Venmo and PayPal. Are we going to go talk about Barbie now?
Yeehaw, let's do it. Okay, thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.